Angels in the Sky, Bart Simpson, Black Sunshine, Blind Squid, Blue Chair, Brown Bombers, California Sunshine, Coffee, Crystal Tea, Cupcake, Vita, Dental Floss, Acid. It goes by many street names, but when first brought about, acid, or LSD, was nothing but a psychedelic street drug. But in the early 1950s, the government took control of that drug in an attempt to turn it against the streets, against the people. On November 28, 1953, a delusional Dr. Frank Olson threw himself from the 10th-story building in New York. He was a long-serving scientist for the U.S. Army's Secretive Chemical Corps Special Operations Division. However, his suicide was involuntary and actually induced 9 days earlier at a meeting. The head of the CIA's Technical Services staff held a meeting, neglecting to tell the people there that he had acquired a quantity of LSD that he secretly wanted to test. Without his consent or knowledge, he spiked Dr. Olson's drink and sat back and watched as the effects kicked in. Following the drugging, Dr. Olson was described as acting psychotic, and it was proven that his suicide was a direct result of the LSD. The CIA immediately initiated a 20-year cover-up of the circumstances surrounding the death in order to prevent their secret project MKUltra from being exposed. MKUltra first began with the aim to study the methods of controlling someone through the use of narcohypnosis, which is a combination of mind-altering drugs such as LSD and heroin with careful hypnotic programming. They claimed they wanted to use this in interrogations of enemies in order to act as a sort of truth serum and ensure that the victims did not remember the interrogation or being programmed. The major goal throughout all was to brainwash people to become couriers and spies without their knowledge. In order to do this, they would give the subject an array of drugs such as heroin, peyote, but most commonly used was LSD. For this purpose, LSD was actually legalized in the United States until 1966. The scientists used to conduct these experiments were Nazi scientists from World War II, all of which were convicted war criminals who were considered credible due to their experience in torture and brainwashing in the Second World War. Project MKUltra officially began on April 13, 1953. MK just meant that the project was sponsored by the agency's Technical Services Division, but Ultra classified the project as one of the most secretive in its classification, being filed with documents from other secret operations, including from World War II. Before leaving the CIA, Richard Helms, CIA Director and Chief Architect of the project, ordered that all documentation of it be destroyed. This made research of the project very difficult, if not impossible, and the public was given little to no information regarding the subject. However, some of the documentation had been misfiled and was discovered again in 1975 by the Church Committee. When the documents were exposed, the public was outraged. The CIA announced they had in fact ceased all mind manipulation programs, stating that the projects only got the barest glimpse before they were discontinued. However, whistleblower Victor Marchetti, a 14-year CIA veteran, revealed the CIA was actually continuing to conduct testing in over 30 universities, hospitals, pharmaceutical houses, state and federal prisons, as well as within private organizations. They claimed testing was being done because there was evidence that opposition intelligence services were already active and highly proficient in this field, using the that they were justified in their actions as they were from the opposition, who knew they were the real opposition. Another excuse to protect the CIA was their paperwork philosophy, or lack of. The MKUltra staff was told to keep a very limited amount of paperwork regarding the testing due to its high sensitivity. Following this, the CIA also discontinued their routine inspections of testing. That's right, there was no one asking who was doing the testing and research, where it was being done, how it was being done, its progress or lack of, or at what cost, both financially and ethically. The staff used a need-to-know doctrine when discussing the project, meaning that if you needed to know, they would tell you. Yeah, right. They claimed that the interrogation of hostile subjects cannot be established solely through testing on volunteers, as it would not accurately show the reaction of a person given in a normal life setting. The subjects of these tests were often sick for days at a time and usually hospitalized if they were not already a patient in one. Whenever a subject became sick or died, the scientists would say it was a natural and necessary effect of the testing. Yes, if the immense amount of drugs they gave you happened to make you sick or even kill you, it's just a natural effect of the drug, and therefore not their fault. Yes, believe it or not, the CIA had an excuse to cover themselves on all fronts. But you might be wondering, how did they plan on conducting all these experiments and not have at least one test subject remembered? This is where Sub-Project 54 came in. It was the Navy's top-secret perfect concussion program that used suboral frequency blasts to erase memory, leaving the subject to think they had just had a concussion and couldn't remember. Or, if the test subject happened to report to a doctor with symptoms of testing, they would be contacted by local authorities in order to cooperate with the suppression of information on the situation. Basically, it was like in the mafia movies. They would come to your house, make sure you cooperate by not telling anyone about your symptoms or suspicions, and they wouldn't kill you. MKUltra was deemed a high-risk, low-yield project that only concluded that through distribution of large doses of drugs, humans can be turned into a total psychological theory of interrogation. Ted Kennedy closed the investigations of these projects by stating to the public, "The CIA revealed that there has been administration of LSD to unwitting subjects in social situations. The agency itself acknowledged that these tests had made little scientific sense, and the agents doing the monitoring were not qualified scientific observers." Basically, Kennedy apologized for letting the fate of the independence of the human race slip under his radar. Yeah, no big deal or anything. Approximately $10 million were spent on the project with no oversight and no accounting, as well as no visible advances scientifically at all. To this day, the most specific information regarding Project MKUltra remains highly classified and unattainable by the public. So if you don't already hate the man as I do, perhaps take a closer look at some of their undercover projects, in case one day you don't have the independence of your own mind to think anymore.